So any automate you want to do, you come right up here to automate. So up here at automate. So this board doesn't exist anymore, which is why that automation isn't live, right? But I don't know if you can see, I'm like looking at your pictures. But so when a status changes, moves to this, you move to that. When it changes to this, you move to that. So if I wanted to add a new automation, I can do when a status changes, you can do when the date arrives, like you can do whatever you want. But for me, it tends to be when the status changes to, so I pick the status. So we'll say this one, when this changes to boss, we'll move the item to a group, or you could do a board, right? It depends on what you want to do. This is just like a little bit more limited right now because these are archived boards. But that's how you would do it. You can create a custom automation. You can look at theirs here, which will be all examples that you can use. All right. You can leverage them for due dates, right? Sub items is a new thing that's really cool. I'll show you that in workflow. When something changes, create an item on a different board. I mean, there's so much you can do. I don't want to overwhelm too much. They also have a lot of tutorials here, like a lot of tutorials. But these are ways that you do automation. So if you look in this top right, this is automations. These are all your things within Monday. Integrations are all of your things that happen with other platforms that you connect to. So these are all apps that it connects to. And of course, my Wi-Fi is slow, but you can go in and see, like, these are all different, whether it's Stripe or Slack, Flow, Typeform, Zendesk, MailChimp, all of them. Nikki, does that answer your question? Cool. All right, so building off of the lead board, we'd go to clients. Now, guys, I schedule with myself a product meeting every week, or with Brad, a product meeting every week. So every week there's an operations and planning meeting, lead generation and marketing meeting, a product meeting, and a reflection meeting. Those are standing meetings. Now, the product meeting, I'm always looking at, okay, what do we need for course content? What are the next things we want to put in there? What text messages do we want to send this week? What bonus calls do we want to do? How is everyone doing in the group? Where are people at? That's what I do in the product meeting. If we don't have a product currently launched, it's how am I working on the product? How am I doing 8 phases of client experience? How can we improve the product, right? But for the sake of product, when it comes to clients, this is an example of a client board. So this would have stuff carried over. Now, these are other things that you can track on this board. Status, are they progressing? Inconsistent, needs attention. Payment, paid in full, payment plan. Length of lead, I find that interesting. Like, how long was it before this person joined? Start date, end date, number of calls, contract, onboarding call, whatever you want. Like, if you do like a welcome gift or a welcome packet, or you send something, like, you put that in there. Was that sent? Right? Whatever it may be, just keeping an eye on it. Tom Brady definitely needs attention. Oh my God. Yeah, I started, Tom is going through some rough times, I know. I referenced him on a live with Brad this morning, and he called that board. I'm like, all right, let's just talk about Tom and his greatness, okay? But hold him high always. But yes, my first time when I was making example boards, I just put in like all the fun names, and then I found a Google site where you could do name generator and export them, which is why the remainder of the boards have totally random names. But client boards, anything on it. If you do GIFs, guys, we do an attendance board. We do an attendance board for the Monday night and Thursday call. And Now, again, we have a team, but the team will go in and will take attendance and just put that in. So every week at the product call, I'm looking and I have a process in place. Wow, if someone's not there for X amount of calls in a row, here's what we do. Right? These are really important things to have these systems in place to support you scaling. Not losing leads is going to support you in scaling. Knowing what's going on with your clients and where people are at is going to support you. It's also creating win-wins, right? All these things create win-wins. So often, like, we forget about the system side of it. Any questions on client board?
I have one question that's probably just like a simple automation. So like when you change a lead to client, are you able to trigger like an automation sequence for like their email or their payments or whatnot?
It depends on what platform you use, but you would look in integration, and it can be when this happens, you can integrate for that to happen. Now, we do most of our integrations through Stripe. So when it's through Stripe, that will trigger the welcome email.
Okay. Like basically when they submit payment.
Yep. That triggers the welcome email. I bet there are ways. I bet there are. Believe it or not, you guys, I only access probably like 5% of Monday's capabilities. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I use it for what I need it to. But the system we have in place right now is the automation comes through Stripe. And that will trigger the email, right? And Stripe will trigger a notification in Slack. And the notification in Slack will notify the team member to move them on the board if they haven't already been moved, and to start the onboarding process. So for a new client, like point of purchase, I tend to run it more through Stripe and Slack. That was also set up before I was big on Monday. I guarantee there's a way to do it. I just can't speak to it for you personally. Does that make sense, Nikki? Okay. So I'll show you an example of a workflow board and answer any questions you guys have. And honestly, I have boards for everything. How many of you are building out some type of course or a product? Okay, cool. Yeah, you can use Monday for that. I'll show you that real quick. Another thing, like on my list today, I have a meeting with our team, and stay tuned. There will be a live event opportunity coming in the near future. But I will be building out an entire new Monday boards for event workflow, event registrants, right? Event collaborations. Like I will build out an event. Yeah, until then, I will build out. Don't even yet. My intuitive reader saw it. I couldn't say no. I was like, I really feel called to do an event. I really feel called to do an event. And I kid you not, my intuitive reader, I've been working with since 2020, was like, oh, I'm seeing an event pop up for you. Like really strong, like you need to do an event. And I was like, so yeah, you saw that I do, sorry. So I was like, Brad, so we're doing an event. Stay tuned. But my point is, I will be creating an entire new like Monday board for that. So it's almost like when you run an event, as you will be, Lisa, like it's almost like a whole separate, you treat it like a separate product, right? Now, if we're doing like a virtual event, not so much, right? Now, when we did the 90-day, 5-day challenge, or when we did the free week here in Elevate, anyone who registered for that was on their own Monday board. It was just really separate. So you can create boards for what you need them, and you can also archive them, right? You can archive the boards. You can create folders so you're not looking at all the boards all the time. Yeah, Cindy, tell me, what do you got?
Sorry, I just didn't want you to move on. Excuse me,
You're
just
good.
choking on my water. So for the leads board, so when you have an automation like that sends when you change to client, and then that will send them to like active client board or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there any way to like keep them like on your like inquiries list, or is there even any point like so that you still have one place where like everybody who's ever reached out,
What
before?
would be your purpose of doing that if they become a client?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's why I track source.
Okay. Yep.
Because then you can actually see who's still on your lead board from certain sources and who are the ones that are actually becoming clients.
Yep. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That makes sense. I don't know. I like panicked. I hit someone to client and they went and I was like, but I mean, they're in that other place, so they're not gone. I just had a.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing you can do is you can create a board where it's like, like dream avatar, dream client, and you can duplicate. So you can duplicate items to have them on different boards. So say, for example, this is why I think all of this data is interesting. Source, call to action, length of lead. Like this is actually really interesting stuff when you want to scale. Because we'll take Tom. Tom needs a little love. Tom, we're going to duplicate Tom. So if I want to duplicate him, right? Items and updates, then I could come to this and I can move it to a totally different board, right? So I can move it to, say, a payment plan board where I'm tracking people with payment plans. I can move it to like avatar board, like ideal client board. And what's interesting about that is like, why I like that is when you get really clear on who works really well and what you're offering, and you're noticing trends on the source or how long the lead took or how long they've been with you, you begin to like really understand who you best support and what languaging works and all that. And it's rooted in data rather than waking up one day and being like, I think I best help this, right? Like getting really clear and like who are the people that are showing up and who are like getting results and who are like really, doing that. And then you look at like what's common and it helps you really understand your clients more. All right, on to the workflow board. So you can run this a few different ways. It's like the Jeopardy song right now. I'm getting my Wi-Fi fixed. It's never been this bad. I think my neighbor might be stealing my Wi-Fi from me. So you want this flow, okay? I've collapsed all these groups right now so that you don't get overwhelmed and you can just see this flow. Backlog, when you do your monthly planning goals and you have shit that gets to be done by November 30th, that's probably going to be in the backlog. So what Brad and I just did is when we did all of our goals over the weekend, our team member uploaded them all. And I said, anything before November 10th, put on deck. Anything after November 10th, put in the backlog. The backlog are the things that you know are waiting for you, but they don't get your attention right now. But you've planned for them, they get to happen. Backlog is also when like, I don't know, you have an intuitive reader and you're like, oh, I think I want to do an event. But that doesn't get to take your attention right away. You put it in the backlog. Event idea, right? Or you're driving and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to make this ebook. But instead of getting home and going right to that ebook that came to you immediately, you stick with your process and what you're doing. So the backlog is a really good way to manage priorities, overwhelm, and shiny object syndrome. Okay, we have a lot of multi-passionate people. Shiny object syndrome is real. On deck means it's been assigned. Okay, so I know these are the things I get to work on. So like, for example, all these things will now be here. Due date, timeline, pillar, product, operation, marketing, sales, finance. On deck means, okay, these are the things that we're working on, right? You can see a lot of them are weak. You can see this week was very heavy in marketing and product, right? Once it's on deck, it hasn't been worked on yet. It's been assigned. So think of it as it's been assigned, but no one's working on it yet. Once you start working on it, it goes to in progress. Needs review and under review would be like if you have a team, or you sent something out to an attorney, or you sent something out to the bank, or you sent something to your coach, right? It could be under review. And then if a teammate needs something reviewed from you, it would go under needs review. Blocked, like really shouldn't have many things in here, but this is like, I'm completely locked out of some account. I can't get in. My Kajabi's not working. My Kartra's not working. The bank's closed, whatever it is. But blocked is like, you can't do it. It's an unmovable mountain. Now, done and complete, anyone take a guess on why those are two different things?